Ni siku ya pili ya kongamano la kujadili vita dhidi ya ufisadi. Tuelekee moja kwa moja Bomas, tusikie kinachoendelea kwa sasa.
Putting an end to corruption. Finally, corruption as defined by Transparency International is the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. And we know that this takes mainly through the public space, and we will work with all sectors to make sure that we get rid of the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. Thank you.
Public interest be done live through public broadcast. We demand that the court reviews very low and easy bail amounts that are required but are not commensurate with the level of corruption charges that have been preferred. We demand that the Judicial Service Commission designs an accountability framework for the judiciary to ensure judicial decisions and rulings meet the highest threshold of transparency. And finally, number 7, we demand that the court undertakes a review of judgments made to date of persons charged with corruption to ensure and verify if they attain the highest threshold of transparency, justice, and integrity. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Yes.
Because I'm in the dock, let me stand up so that Your Excellency, the President and all the dignitaries here present. First, I want to take this opportunity, Your Excellency, to thank the organizers of this conference. I look at it as an accountability forum. We are being held to account, and the public want to hear from us what we are doing about this. Your Excellency, I understand the public indignation against corruption. I understand that, and I want everybody to understand that. We live in this country. We have ourselves as individuals suffered from the corruption scourge that is in the country. And I want to thank you, Your Excellency, for the political will that we now have to fight this scourge. My prayer is that we don't lose it. We go to the very end and rid our country of corruption. Your Excellency, the war against corruption is not going to be won by blame games. And I want to be very candid. Since I'm in the dock, I want to be very candid. The war against corruption is not going to be won by blame games. The war against corruption, Your Excellency, is not going to be won by people who are involved here, and some are here, hiring professional bloggers to demonize anybody or to demonize the judiciary. We are not going to win the war against corruption by that. Every day I wake up, in fact, the first thing, I'm now almost being sidetracked when I'm supposed to concentrate. It says, look, do you know what is here? Is here, is here. Like today, you must have seen in the media, I'm shown there naked, massaging people who are supposed to be corrupt. We are not going to win the war against corruption by those kind of gimmicks. Your Excellency, we are not going to win the war against corruption by Friday arrests. And I said, I don't want to appear like we are in a blame game, but let the truth be told. I heard Mr. Kiboro saying the judiciary should not entertain these useless petitions that are coming, that these people should not be arrested. The judiciary does not go out there to look for cases. Those people who feel aggrieved come to us. They file cases. If they have filed cases, we must hear them and dismiss them if they have no basis. We must hear them and uphold them if they have a basis. So this, Mr. Kiboro, what you are telling the people, that the CJA should not waste time listening to those. Should I now write and say these petitions have been filed here, we find them useless, throw them away, even without hearing them? We can't do that. We are a country ruled by the rule of law. Let the truth be told, we are a country ruled by the rule of law, and this war against corruption must be won by the application of the law. Your Excellency, the law is, although that expression has been said many times, the law is clear, and everybody says that, and he says his own things. The Constitution guarantees an accused person or the right to be heard. He is presumed innocent until he is proved guilty. The people, our clients, Your Excellency, are here. They demand that right, a constitutional right. So we must have a fair hearing to the accused persons. It starts with bail. That's why I talked about the Friday arrests, and I want our police to avoid that, because it puts a lot of pressure on us. And as Mr. Kiboro said, we are now sidetracked hearing cases, petitions, which ordinarily we should not be hearing. We should be concentrating on other things. The war against corruption is going to be won by the use of technology. And I don't want to go into many details. Your Excellency, you spoke about technology the other day. We are talking about blockchains and all those. We need to think about that, and we need to invest on technology to fight corruption. The war against corruption is going to be won by courage. People being courageous and come and deal with this menace. Many times I get people coming and saying, look, your people are doing this, so and so. They even name, some say, look, so and so is taking bribes and so. I say, please, you know, that is not helping me. That is not helping me. Assist us to deal with that. I agree there is corruption in the judiciary, even in the judiciary, as it is everywhere. Judges are there, and we get information from people, but information which is not actionable. Information, Your Excellency, which is not actionable. And while I'm on this, I would like to say this, Your Excellency. The judiciary, the Judicial Service Commission, as a body known as the Judiciary Ombudsman, we are asking for support to investigate some of the complaints that are coming there. I have requested this, but it has not been given to me. We want support so that we can investigate some of the complaints against our own people, and we deal with them. And I can assure you, Your Excellency, once the Judicial Service Commission has evidence of anybody involved in corruption, we will deal with it, and we are dealing with some of the cases where evidence has been given. What we have is just talk, people talking, and they are not doing anything to give us evidence, which we can't act upon. The other thing, Your Excellency, is the Constitution itself requires that an accused person be given witness statements of the witnesses who are going to testify against him. You know, we have been seeing media reports that the cases are taking very long and so forth. You don't need, we have instructed the communication directorate in the judiciary to give the public updates every day about what is causing the adjournments of those cases. Some of them are adjourned, Your Excellency, because the accused persons have not been given statements to defend themselves. We are a democratic society, a rule of law. Anything short of a fair hearing, we are not going to win this war. That's my view about it, and I mean, anybody can say his own view. But we are not going to win the war against corruption if we are not going to follow the rule of law, give the accused persons a fair hearing. A fair hearing here, and this is where I want to admit our problem. A fair hearing does not mean we have cases for years on end in court. And I agree, and for this I want to take responsibility that we have had delays in the past. We have had delays in the past because our magistrates and judges have given it to the lawyers to play the what? To run the show. I have made that very clear when we had judicial colloquium in Mombasa with the judges. I've made that very clear to the magistrates that they have got to take control of the proceedings before them. What this means, Your Excellency, is that the magistrates and the judges should not allow adjournments willy-nilly. I say willy-nilly because there are some cases where you can't avoid an adjournment. But then we have done it, the public knows, we have done it in election petitions and we have finalized those cases within a short while. And this is what we are doing now with regard to corruption cases. The problem, ladies and gentlemen, corruption is not going to sit down. It is going to fight back, and it is fighting back. Very, very vigorously. We have situations where you find people coming and faking sickness and all that, and they go even to doctors, and doctors give them reports that they are sick. So it involves everybody. It involves everybody. When we are seated there and I'm told so and so is admitted in hospital and his case is going on, am I going to convict him without hearing him? So it is a vision, and this is a network. It's a network that we have got. The reality be told, let us not escape the fact where they are. That is the truth. We have cases where, like now, the magistrates who are hearing the cases in Milimani, the ones who have brought to Milimani to hear these corruption cases, they came to my office the other week and told me they are getting problems from lawyers. One lawyer is appearing in all these cases. And you know you can't be in one case, if they are going on at the same time, you can't be here and here and here. And I want to make this announcement because this is an opportunity. The lawyers must be listening to me or they will hear. We are not going to allow, if you have taken a case or corruption case, you have taken another one, if you don't have lawyers in your office to hear it, and the accused persons, by the way, let me also address the accused persons. If your lawyer is having your case and is defending so and so and so and so and so and so, we are not going to wait for him or you. You had better get another lawyer. So, Your Excellency, what we have done, and that is part of the commitment, if you want me to say commitment, we have asked those magistrates to mention all those cases and give them fresh hearing dates. The dates available to those magistrates, not the dates available to the lawyers. So we are going to have to deal with that. Now, the other thing, one other thing, Your Excellency, the war against corruption is going to be won by evidence. By evidence. This morning, I was watching KTN, and I was amused by somebody who says the CJ should sit down with the DPP and analyze the evidence that is there so that we get a conviction. And this is a very enlightened person, Your Excellency. If I were to do that, Your Excellency, I have no right to be a CJ. Because I am supposed to act independently. I wait for the prosecution to tender evidence. and we deal with that evidence and we convict. So the war against corruption is going to be won by concrete evidence. Concrete evidence that is going to be brought to us. If you are not going to bring Mr. Kinoti and your colleagues, and I've told you this before, if you are not going to bring us evidence, we will acquit, because if we don't acquit, we cease to be a judiciary. What I'm saying here is, Your Excellency, is this. We have had cases where you see evidence interfered with. A police officer is charged with murder using a firearm. The case is investigated by very, very senior police officers, fellow police officers. When they come to court and they know the firearm is central in that case, they come with a wrong serial number. Do you see, Your Excellency? Come with a wrong serial number. What is the judicial officer supposed to do? This man says, look, my serial number is this one. And if you are saying it is the one I used, I don't know this one you're talking about. And those kind of things, and when we have had that. And it is in public domain. Some suspect said the other day that, look, cases are killed in the what? In the investigation stage. What I'm saying is that if we are going to be given half-baked cases, we will dismiss them, and we will do that firmly, because as a judicial officer, as the Chief Justice of this Republic, we are not going to send anybody to prison who is innocent, or whose case has not been proved as required by the law. That is the only way we are going to do that. Now, the other thing, the prosecution, and Mr. Haji, I'm happy you're here. Look at the way you frame cases. Not in a bad way. You put 30 accused persons on one charge sheet. They are represented by 30 lawyers. How long do you think that will take? I'm not your advisor. You have your counsel, and what? Those kind of cases will never move. Will never move, Your Excellency. They will not move. I said, let's be realistic and speak the truth. Find ways how you frame your cases. Charge the top people if you have, and use others as witnesses, and you go on with the case. If we are not going to do that, we are not going to move, and the cases will be there. You will continue blaming the judiciary. Even if I'm not there, somebody else who is not there, you will continue with that blame game, and we are not going to move anywhere. Your Excellency, the other thing I want to address is the issue of funding. I have gotten magistrates from the other stations and brought them to Nairobi to sit and do these cases and finalize them. I want to thank you, Your Excellency. You gave us for house. You gave us some money. We are doing very, very quick innovations, and those magistrates will have a place to sit. Why am I saying this? The judiciary is extremely underfunded. If the Kenyans want judiciary to give them the services they require, we need funding. Last year, we asked for that 1 billion. We were given 14. You put yourself in my position, what you are supposed to do. We agree that the country doesn't have endless resources of money and so forth, but we can see what other resources are being given to other institutions, and we are being starved. Like now, the hearing of the cases in Milimani, we have asked some of our development partners are helping us with the audio recording systems. We want to put that, but that is, we have like for 3 or 4 courts. Your Excellency, I saw Mr. Mucheru here, and I told him, look, assist us with those machines so that we record this evidence. Instead of the magistrate recording for the whole day, we move quickly with those hearing of those cases. Unless Kenya invests in technology and we do that, we are not going to move anywhere, and we are going to have this blame game. I want to assure the Kenyans this. We are committed to fighting the war against corruption. And we are going to fight it, and we want to fight corruption both inside and outside the judiciary. Let us be given the necessary assistance we require, and we will deal with this. The hearing of these cases, as I said, I have brought 10 magistrates. If need be, I will bring more to Nairobi to hear these cases. You hear one of the demands from the public here is that I should stop hearing all the other cases and deal with this. Very good. I did that in December and brought several magistrates from various stations to come to Nairobi and hear the backlog of cases that have been there for years on end, and we are being blamed for that. Those magistrates didn't have as many cases as that. You know what I have? I have a case against me. The CJ has taken magistrates from here, is disorganized, is doing this. Now, if I bring those magistrates to hear these cases, I hope Wananchi, you are not now going to again take me to court that I have done this. I know you will say, look, why don't you do proper planning? You do proper planning with the resources you have. If I don't have enough magistrates, I don't have enough judges, we are not going to do that. And you will continue complaining until the judiciary, until you tell your members of parliament to give us enough funding to do our work as we are supposed to do. We are not going to move. The other thing, Your Excellency, you were saying that the cases be heard within 6 months. We would love to do that. I would personally love to have that done, but some of them, it is impracticable. I don't want to give false promises, Your Excellency. The evidence we have, and I have sat down with those magistrates, one witness takes at least 4 days. The nature of evidence is there. You are saying somebody has taken money from NYS, and the documents are like this, heaps, and you have to give that person a fair hearing. There's no way you are going to hear. I don't want to promise Kenyans that we are going to hear these cases within a given time. It is a matter we are discussing, the judiciary leadership we are discussing. We are discussing with the courts which are hearing these cases and telling them, look, you can see the Kenyan indignation. Let us deal with these cases as soon as possible. Go to the issues in the case. Don't be sidetracked by parties and others. That is my message to the judicial officers, and it is bearing fruit, Your Excellency. We are going to deal with these cases as soon as we can. There is an issue that was raised here, but I don't think it is for this forum. I will deal with it on another forum about the judiciary. You have said that the judiciary is not accountable. We are accountable to the people. Where we are required to be accountable, we are accountable to the people. And we have shown that accountability. As I said, one of the issues that you raised here is not for this forum. I don't want to answer it here. It's not because I'm escaping from answering it, but because it is not for this forum. You are saying that even the accused person should be released, as I said, like 40% of the amount stolen. You know, you can't give that, because you do that, you will mess with the judicial independence and the decisional independence of the magistrates. These cases are dealt with on their own facts. They involve Kenyans. They may have been involved in corruption, but we want to have them proved and the cases dealt with as they come. Anything short of that, we are not going to win this war. Your Excellency, let there be funds given to all the agencies, including the judiciary, so that like now I have stopped all cash payments in the judiciary. There is no cash payment, and I want the public to understand, because some of the traffic offenders are going, and our clerks take them in circles and circles and circles. Please don't pay any money. Don't be told that the network is low and so forth. Those are excuses we have found that our officers are using. So there may be a bit of inconvenience, but that's the only way. If we are going to fight corruption and win it, we are going to have to be a little inconvenienced. I don't want to take too much time. What I'm saying in short, Your Excellency, is that let us be given the support we require. Let us be given the resources we require. Then ask us why we are not delivering. Even with the real resources that we have, we are doing our very best. And I promise you, with the magistrates that I have brought to Nairobi, you are going to see these cases moving. But we want cooperation. We want the DPP to be ready. Give the witnesses their statements so that they don't come on a hearing date. These people are complaining, and we have got to adjourn the case. Or you are not having witnesses and all that. As I said, I have directed my director, information directorate to send messages to the public. What has caused the adjournment of this case or that? Otherwise, Your Excellency, I want you to understand, and I want the Kenyans to understand, I want to give this commitment on behalf of the judiciary that we are fighting corruption and we are ready to do our part, and we will do it without any fear or favor, so that we win this war against corruption. Why I was talking about some of the arrests, some of those people come and complain, look, this is witch hunt and so forth. If we deal with the cases purely on evidence, you will tell me, okay, yeah, so and so doesn't like your, but did you do this? The evidence is here. You will shut them up. We will shut them up. Those people who will come and say, I'm here because I'm not from a good political grouping or what and what, they will keep quiet when they are convicted on concrete evidence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bwana CJ. We gave you reasonable latitude because, as you notice, your list is also the longest. So, but thank you for taking it in stride and making those commitments. We are looking forward to great things happening. Our next is the legislature. This is the National Assembly and the Senate, and the two speakers are here with us. And we want to just present to you the demands of the citizens of Kenya. And in accordance with what the CJ has said, the accused have also been supplied with the what did you call it? The charge sheet. So you are already aware of what we are asking, but here is what we demand. We demand that any member of parliament accused of accepting money to alter corruption reports before parliament has to step aside until investigations are complete. We demand that the Speaker of either house ensures there is no duplication of investigation and oversight committees that end up as centers of financial extortion. We demand that the Speaker takes a strong administrative and any other action within his powers to ensure that members of parliament do not take part in fundraisings contrary to the Public Officers Ethics Act. We demand that the Senate should enact a law preventing public officers, elected or appointed, or close family, from giving money publicly and require them to disclose their source when they do so. We demand that the Speaker should institute a legal framework to safeguard public interest that ensures members of parliament do not abuse their privilege of increasing their salaries at will outside reasonable salary scales commensurate to our economy. Bwana Speakers, you can decide how to respond.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Since we are two, we have agreed that I start. As the Speaker of the Senate, let me first thank His Excellency the President for providing the political goodwill to deal with corruption. We have agreed that I'll deal with question number 2 on duplication of investigations. And my take is, you know, when you look at Article 93, it establishes a parliament with the 2 houses, the Senate and the National Assembly. And Article 124 then allows either house to form committees to deal with issues that come up. My view, or our view as Senate, is the bicameral nature of our houses are that we counter-check each other. If we are looking at an issue, for example, the Senate is investigating a matter and it says this is water, and the National Assembly says it's a soda, then we must be able to find out why the variance has come in. Because then we will be able to assist each other to get to some conclusion that is going to assist us fight corruption. And it also becomes very difficult, for example, to compromise both houses if that is attempted to be done. So we are saying that because of our standing orders, because the Parliament is a house of procedures and rules, if our standing orders have allowed us to have those committees where we can jointly look at the same issue together, that also is allowed in law, we can be able to do that. But when we also look at an issue, and the National Assembly is looking at an issue, is for purposes of giving ourselves a check and balance to see whether we arrive at the same conclusion. And if we don't, that's also not new in a bicameral system. Then we find out why there is variance. Family. You can answer that, we'll tackle that personally.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and delegates. There are a number of questions that have been posed to us, but I ought to begin by saying that obviously the war against corruption must be fought from all levels. And in the political class, it must begin from the processes through which we choose our representatives, so that those processes must themselves be seen to be above board. Because as they always say, if the process by which leadership is put in place is flawed, obviously then the results are likely to be contaminated. As they say, garbage in, garbage out. However, as Parliament exercising oversight functions through our committees, it is our commitment that at all times, when issues of members receiving bribes towards our reports, we commit to ensure that we swiftly report those cases to the appropriate agencies who have capacity to deal with such matters. It is not incumbent upon any speaker of any house, it's not even possible to demand that a member steps aside, because the method through which a member of parliament vacates their office is again provided for in the Constitution. But when we have these kind of cases being reported, then it is those mechanisms will then kick in, and therefore a member will be exited through a normal judicial process. I've been asked also to address the issue of administrative and other actions within the powers given to the Speaker to ensure that members of Parliament do not take part in fundraising harambes contrary to the Public Officer Ethics Act, 2003, I believe. Yes, the Public Officer Ethics Act attempted to create some offense or to prevent state officers from participating in public fundraisings. But of course, the only thing I can commit to, which is within my power, is to report again. I have no police or prosecutorial powers over any members who break the law. The power of a speaker of a house is usually limited to the house, the precincts, so that a matter that happens, and normally these fundraisings are never held within the precincts of Parliament, and therefore out there in the villages, the normal investigative agencies of government deal with that. And the results of those investigations, once brought to us, and more so, if they end up in convictions, appropriate remedies as provided for in the Constitution won't follow. Finally, I have been asked to deal with the issue of salaries. And I think, Your Excellency, this is a good opportunity for me to just raise one point, that it is a form of corruption to misreport. Mr. Kiboro, it is a terrible form of corruption to misinform the world and Kenyans in particular. And I'm saying this with a tremendous respect to our brothers and sisters in the fourth estate, and I'm sure if you want to know that what I'm saying is true, check tomorrow. This will not be captured. That's how they operate. Because even as they spoke here, they never talked about the brown, they omitted the brown envelopes, and they didn't hear a commitment as to whether they will deal with that. I want to assure the country that it is not possible, and it will not be possible under our watch for any member of Parliament to introduce because it's unconstitutional, an unconstitutional legislative proposal to earn salaries. That is a function that every one of us at the legislature knows exclusively belongs to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. And indeed, while at it, because Bishop Oginde is around, and on 6th of December, when he preached to us, he alluded to this. The bill that has caused this problem has absolutely no reference to a proposal for members of Parliament to increase their salaries. And since as speakers, we have to approve all legislative proposals, I want to commit, we have agreed, any such proposal will be rejected. And fortunately for us, unlike the judiciary, we have the power to reject up front, and that we commit. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, allow me to just add, because we are addressing the issue of corruption, and the greatest mandate of the Senate is to oversight county governments, and therefore county governments are our clients. And I've had an opportunity of serving on both sides as a governor and now as a speaker. One of the issues that we need to address is to strengthen the Office of the Auditor General so that reports are able to be done in time and forwarded to the various parliaments on time so that they can be adjudicated as fast as possible. As we speak now, the reports that have come to Senate that have been dealt with are 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. So we end up being morticians instead of being physicians. So we would want that the Office of the Auditor General be strengthened so that they are able to perform their duties as quickly as possible, bring the report so that where recommendations have been made, they are able to be dealt with as quickly as possible to address areas that have been flagged out. Another point that I would like to suggest for adoption, maybe a recommendation, is to build the capacity of the county assemblies, because they are the first call of point in terms of oversighting at that level. Once that has been done, then the Senate will be left to do performance auditing, and the county assemblies will do operational auditing, because then they will be able to look at the budgets that have been approved at that level and find out how funds have been used at that particular level. Then also, lastly, we need also to strengthen, to have very stringent governance structures, especially in procurement, because that's where we have a lot of challenges in terms of corruption, and see how procurement can be properly streamlined. And also propose that members of the county assembly, immediately they are elected, they be taken to Kenya School of Government for training in matters of finance and governance, so that they have capacity to be able to deal with issues that they are supposed to deal with, because most of them come from various backgrounds and they end up not really understanding or having the capacity to oversight at that level. But otherwise, like my colleague has said, as the Speaker of the Senate, as the Senate, we commit to uphold the integrity of the House and to ensure that honorable members remain honorable, like their title proposes, and not otherwise. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, honorable speakers, for your responses and commitments, which we keep on record so that we look forward to some action taking place. I believe that if all of us do what we have committed to do, earlier on we had various sectors making their own commitments. I believe that this war will be won. It is a very rare thing for you to make demands of the president. But the citizens have given me that responsibility. Chief Justice, now I understand what you are saying. One of the accused said he is not aware of what he's accused of. So he wanted to see the charge sheet. So I had to run for one so that they could be aware of what. So I agree with you now. Your Excellency, you have seen the citizen demands as given in that sheet. My responsibility is to bring them to you on their behalf. And the citizens of Kenya hereby demand that His Excellency the President request the stepping aside of all public and state officers charged with cases of corruption. That the President should not appoint to any public and state office any person charged or implicated in corruption until their names are cleared. That the investigating agencies are well appraised and collaborate with expertise of various multi-sectoral sectors in the area of investigation to ensure effective and efficient prosecution. That you ensure disciplinary and administrative action is taken promptly against public and state officers found complacent in corruption and finance mismanagement, and that they are not transferred to other stations of duty. That the President withdraws the executive order of the Ndegwa report that allows public and state officers to own and conduct businesses while in office due to the very high conflict of interest that appertains. We demand that we ensure conclusion of the lifestyle audit on all public and state officers and to be extended to other arms of government, i.e. the legislature, the judiciary, and the county government. That the IEBC ensures strict enforcement of the policy under the Public Officers Act that bars persons facing corruption charges or listed by EACC from running for any political office or holding public office. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Bishop. I think I was the only one. I noticed everybody was looking at a piece of paper, and I was wondering, how come I don't have my charge sheet in front of me? But that aside, on the first one, that the President requests all public and state officers charged with cases of corruption to step aside until cleared. That one we are already enforcing. There is nobody who is before a court of law who is in office in the executive. They have all been requested to stand aside until such time as their cases are cleared. And I'm talking about the executive here. I'm not talking about county governments. Me, I'm talking about my side. That question you should also ask our colleagues as well. But the President should not appoint to any public or state office any person charged or implicated in corruption until their names are cleared. I commit. The investigating agencies are well appraised and collaborate with the expertise of various multi-sectoral sectors in the area of investigation to ensure effective and efficient prosecution. That already exists, and that was one of the reasons we were also late today. We were with the two teams that come from the executive, who work under the multi-agency system, the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, enforcing and ensuring that they are collaborating, working together to ensure proper investigation and ultimately effective prosecution. So that is already in place. The President withdraws the executive order on the Degwa report. That is in my speech. I'll talk about that later. To ensure conclusion of the lifestyle audit on all public and state officers and to extend to other arms of government. This, I apologize, it has taken much longer than we expected, but I do commit that we will fast track this, and after we are finished and the procurement officers are done, we will now go to senior government officers, starting with myself. And senior government means government, which includes all arms of government. Hata nyinyi mujipange. That the IEBC ensures strict enforcement of the policy under which public officers act. I cannot do that. That is an independent office with an independent chair. Put him to task and ask him to ensure that that happens. That is his responsibility, not mine. Nimejibu zangu, asante.
This is all. We want to say thank you to Your Excellency. I can see why you are president. You have been brief, to the point, with clear commitments, and we say thank you very much. And we want to appreciate all our panelists. We want to thank our Deputy President for accompanying the President and giving him moral support. I see that happening in courts. Your friends go with you to stand with you, and we can see you stood with the President. And we also want to thank our Attorney General for also coming to be with us here. We didn't have any questions for him, but he is part of the executive, and I believe he is going to help us in ensuring some of these things happen. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of that particular session, and I'm going to hand over to our Masters of Ceremony. Thank you all for your patience. It has been lunchtime, but you have been patient to listen to this because you are committed to this matter, corruption. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Oginde, for a difficult job well done, and a big round of applause. Not just to him, but also to everyone here heading up an arm of government who has made very solemn and sincere commitments. Tafadhali makofi. So I now want, and Bishop Oginde said we didn't hear from the Attorney General, but those of you that were here yesterday, and those of you that watched it later on television do know that the Honorable Attorney General was here, and he spoke very eloquently and very passionately. So we have not missed anything, am I right? Yeah. Indeed. So I want to ask the Honorable Attorney General to please come up on stage, and his job will be very simple, to just conduct the last bit of the program, so as we come to the end of this program today.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Honourable Speakers, my Lord the Honourable Chief Justice, Your Excellency, the Governor, as I formally welcome Your Excellency, the President, to this conference, it is not lost on us that you have graciously agreed to be with us. And I think, Excellency, you got back very, very late in the night or the early morning, and for Your Excellency to have been on duty this morning at another function, and here, it is really a great honor, and we appreciate it very, very much. I'll say two things before my next task. Your Excellency has invited this country to unity. Unity of purpose, unity of effort, and unity of spirit. And that, in my humble view, is how this war is going to be won. Your Excellency was a lone voice, like John the Baptist, talking about corruption. And at one time, Your Excellency said, you were losing all your friends. You now have 45 million Kenyans behind you. Let me demonstrate that, Your Excellency, by telling you of a war I was engaged in at age 6.5. I was at war. We had a bumper harvest in my village, and we had filled all the granaries with maize and millet and all the rest of it. And then what happened? The rat decided to come in, and they really messed us up. They ate and ate. Walikuwa wakubwa hata wale wanakaa kama ndovu. They were everywhere. I've never seen so many rats in my life. And then, Excellency, this was during the emergency. The men were away either in the forest or detained. And it was the women, led by my late mother, God bless her, who came up with a plan. And each of us in the village, young as I was at age 6 or so, to the teenagers, to the mothers, we were all equipped with a rungu, a stick. And on the appointed day, Excellency, the stores, the granaries were lifted on stilts, and they were emptied one by one. And as the maize flowed out when the trapdoor was lifted, out came the rats. Walikuja na sasa sisi tukaanza kugonga. Piga rungu, piga rungu, piga rungu. Wakienda kwa shamba tukafuata. And during that whole morning and the early afternoon, we exterminated the rats. unity of purpose, unity of effort, and unity of spirit. That's what we have to do. Tusikilizane vizuri. Na nimesikia, Your Excellency, today at the commitments that have been made here, every one of us has committed to exterminate this big rat called corruption. And we're going to do it. So ikiwa kwa ofisi ya AG, ikiwa ni AG mwenyewe, ikiwa ni my colleagues, the cabinet secretaries, ikiwa ni principal, ikiwa kwa piga rungu pale zote. Tupige nini? Tupige rungu. That, in my humble view, is what we shall do. And as far as Your Excellency's team on the matter is concerned, we gave a commitment here, and I'll reiterate it. We will not be bribed. We will not cower away. We will not be exterminated. We will fight to the end, and we will have victory. Your Excellency the President, please allow me to invite the Honorable the Deputy President to invite Your Excellency upige rungu na watu wako.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, the Honorable Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Speakers, former Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Odinga, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Before I invite His Excellency the President to make his remarks, and in the spirit of what our Attorney General has said, that we have the mobilization of the country, unity of purpose, unity of effort, and that of the spirit. Allow me to invite the Right Honorable Raila Odinga to make some remarks. And so that we can proceed and prosecute the rest of this afternoon. And while he is coming, Bishop Okinde, as you ably recognized, there is a reason why Uhuru Kenyatta is president. And as you could notice, although I was here to support him, he ably prosecuted what belonged to the national government. So with those many remarks, let me invite the Right Honorable Raila Odinga to make his remarks.
I don't know what is very interesting. Your Excellency the President, all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, I want first to begin by putting this meeting here into context. As you know, me and His Excellency the President had a meeting sometime last year. And we came up with what's called a MOU. And that MOU has 9 points. One of them was corruption, fighting corruption. So sometimes last year, we had decided that we are going to convene a national conference on corruption, that we are going to charge the Building Bridges Initiative to convene it. Later on, we thought that if we have the Building Bridges Initiative doing it, it will be seen as just Uhuru Raila, more like a public relations exercise. We decided that we allow the private sector to be the conveners, that we would ourselves come here just as participants and listen to the people talk about corruption. And that then we would also just make our contributions along with other people. Unfortunately, yesterday, we had to be out of the country. That's why we're not here. But I came here very early, only to find that most of the contributions were made yesterday, and that now we are actually just concluding. So I had some few points that I wanted to make, and I'm going to make them very quickly so that they can also go into record of this very important conference. I say most African societies have no word for corruption. In our mother tongues, people who take what is not theirs are called thieves. Occasionally, we refer to such people as wakora, crooks, conmen, but they're generally and simply understood to be thieves and called as such. That is what we call a person who tricks you of your land, who takes your cow, uses flowery language to get money from you, who charges more than the real cost, or who hides part of the proceeds for personal gain. No matter which Kenyan society you ask, such a person is called a thief, and people are warned against such characters. As children, our parents warned us against being seen with so-and-so, against marrying in such a family, because they are thieves. They are bad people. They were rejects in society. Over time, there has been a systematic laundering of this crime, its perpetrators and its proceeds. We launder them in church, at social events like weddings, at harambes, and during times of tragedies, sometimes caused by the crimes of the very same people. We view those who steal from us as achievers and as real men and women struggling with life. Those who steal from us and who then give back partly out of guilt and partly to buy our admiration and silence are seen to be generous or development conscious, even when we know they are not. We welcome them to social and religious events with open arms and cheers and roll out the red carpet for them, but frown at the chicken thief and look for tires to lynch them. Why are we changed and made stealing something whose nature and dimensions are difficult to understand and whose real name we refuse to pronounce? How has this impacted on our war on this crime? Still on the issue of attitude, there is some sympathy and reverence we have developed for corrupt people, the thieves. We kind of feel sorry for the big shot who has been taken to court for stealing billions using the pen or through the electronic bank transfers, while we feel nothing for the rugged man accused of stealing a cow or a chicken. That person does not get bail in Chief Justice's court. Aende kabisa. The ordinary citizens look sorry, the police officer looks sorry, and even the judges look sorry. You have contributed to this problem as a society. We need to end it as a society before we bring in the government. And the issue of attitude features strongly on our idea about the government. We seem to believe that the government is something alien or institution that grows money on trees, and that whoever steals from government money has not stolen from us, because the government's money is somebody's money. In fact, such a person is seen as a hero who has conquered some enemy. Yet the truth is that the government has no money of its own. It's only our taxes. For every money stolen from the government will most likely raise more taxes or cut down on services provided to us. Then there are our institutions, the courts of law, the anti-corruption agencies, the police, etc. There's every indication that the thieves do not sleep as they look for ways to steal. They use the stolen money to hire the most crooked lawyers or buy judges and other officers in the chain. We are witnessing very clear cases of collusion in our courts, with investigators and prosecutors. Consequently, we are witnessing a trend where suspects rush to court to stop the DCI and the DPP from arresting and charging them with corruption. And then the courts are granting such suspects their wishes. This is curious and disturbing. I'm not sure whether a chicken thief out there can go to court and get such a favorable ruling. If the suspects feel that they should not be arrested and be taken to court, and the judges agree with them, what are we supposed to do with those suspects? When a man who has stolen money meant for drugs in a local hospital asks judges to stop his arrest, and the judges agree with him, what are the mothers whose children died for lack of drugs supposed to do? I'm equally not sure you can tame graft when you allow those charged with it to be out on bail and return to their workstations, cleanse or interfere with the records, then return to court a year later. What kind of thief, with his or her senses intact, would return to office and safely guard documents and contact they know will be used against them? I am not sure that we are keen to get to the bottom of the problem, or we are just going through the motions. Finally, there is the issue of time. How long should one corruption case take to start and to be dispensed with? Is it a year, a decade, or a generation? Societies have stemmed the tide against corruption, and those that have insisted on dispensing swift and severe punishment were kind of shock and awe. Such societies understand that the corrupt who go unpunished or who take too long to be punished become heroes of sorts and continue to undermine the values of society and pillars of the state. It is my hope that our experiences as shared here will lead us to a permanent solution and not another conference on how to deal with thieves in suits. I want to just give two examples. You remember here, about 5 years ago, we had a visit here by a head of state from Korea. President of Korea was here. She went back and she was found to have conferred certain favors to a friend of hers. She was impeached by Parliament, charged in a court, like Justice Maraga's court equivalent of Korea. And she's serving a 25-year jail term in Korea. Could that happen in Kenya? Not only in Kenya, or in Africa. Some drug lords, suspects, could not be found guilty in our courts here. They were out on bail. And they were taken to America. And there they have been there in remand for 2 years. That the right to innocence before found guilty, notwithstanding. And there in America, they have been able to cooperate and have a plea bargaining, and they have been able to actually tell it out, all in America. Why is it possible there and it's not possible here? Where people tried in absentia in Jersey Island, found guilty there, that we're not able to find them guilty here. We're not able to expatriate them to go and face trial, yet we are demanding that the money should be brought back here. Contradictions. So we must bite the bullet and go that extra mile to deal with this cancer of corruption. The Parliament is also accused. Parliament gets about allocation of 2% of our total revenue. It employs only 1,000 people. The judiciary employs about 7,000 people and gets 0.5%. 46 billion against 15 billion. And then they're saying that they are not adding themselves money. They're adding themselves money for sitting allowances. I mean, Mr. Speaker, I was being economical with facts. Didn't they say that they did not want to recognize the Salary Review Commission, that Parliament as an independent institution has a right to raise their salaries the way they like? And the same thing also happens with the county governments. Over 70% of the revenue that is devolved goes purely for recurrent expenditure, with very little to show for development. This is also another form of corruption. Sitting allowances. You find them fighting, I've not been put in this committee, I've not been put in this committee, I've not been given overseas trips, benchmarking, and how do they call the other one? And bonding. That's where our public money goes. So we need to face this directly and openly and deal with it. This is when we are going to be able to slay this dragon of corruption. Your Excellency, let me tell you a story that I was told when I was Minister for Roads and Public Works in my other early incarnation. There is a minister from Nigeria for Roads and Public Works who went on a tour to Malaysia, there on invitation. So he was taken by his host, taken around the country, shown the highways that they have constructed in Malaysia. And then in the evening, he was treated to dinner at the residence of that minister. There, He found a nice mansion, a swimming pool, and nice sofa sets, and dinner sets. So had dinner. So he asked his host, "How did you manage this house?" The host took him to the balcony and showed him, "Look yonder. Do you see that highway there? Yes, 10% here." Two years later, it was the turn of the Malaysian to pay a return visit. When he went to Nigeria, he was taken around the roads. He saw roads were potholed, some of them untarmacked, and very poor condition, very poor state of affairs. In the evening, he was taken to dinner, and he found a palatial mansion, Olympic-sized swimming pool. The sofa sets were imported from Britain. Most of the chinaware were golden. So he asked his host, "How do you achieve all this?" He took him to the balcony. And so, "Do you see that highway there?" The Malaysian could see nothing. He was told 100% here.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable. I want to say, for the record, and the officers of government are here, that in 2013, the one question we asked Mr. Michael Kamau before the President appointed him to be Minister for Roads and Infrastructure, the one question we asked him was why a kilometer of tarmac was 100 million. The good news, however, is that today we are building a kilometer of tarmac for between 30 and 40 million. And that is the reality. Mr. President, this is a very solemn and important occasion because we are discussing the heart and soul of our nation. I know when you undertook the exercise to build the infrastructure to fight corruption in our country, when you set aside money, both financial, technical, the infrastructure, and the human capital to fight corruption, many people did not believe that there was anything different that was going to happen. In fact, many people told us, you are doing more of the same. But today, there is an appreciation in Kenya that the building of the institutions charged with governance, from the office of the DPP to the office of the DCI, there is an appreciation that something different is happening. And to this conference, for the people who believe that maybe this is another talk shop, I want to tell you that we have traveled this journey. We have seen what commitment and passion can achieve. There is already evidence that this administration matches what they say with what they do. all of us seated here, and I'm happy the Attorney General has good record, all of us have made commitments. And I like this conference because it is less of finger pointing and more of appreciation of where we are and what we need to do collectively, together, to deal with the challenge of corruption. And I want to persuade all of you that those who work with President Uhuru Kenyatta, I want to undertake this conference that those of us in the national executive, from myself to the lowest level, will stand behind Uhuru Kenyatta as he prosecutes this charge. The President has answered all the items, and he has given an undertaking on the matter of lifestyle audit. I am probably the only person who has already undergone that exercise. Well, some media houses have already carried out a lifestyle audit. But on me, the only problem is that they stopped at one person. I wish they could continue to the next person, even as we wait for the formal exercise to begin. But ladies and gentlemen, because this is probably the most important occasion on the charge against corruption, it's now my pleasure and duty to ask His Excellency the President to make his remarks and take us forward. Mr. President, sir.
Asante sana, William. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, members of the diplomatic corps and our development partners who have joined us, fellow Kenyans, it gives me today great pleasure to join you all in this multi-sectoral national anti-corruption conference, a gathering that has brought together various stakeholders from the full spectrum of our national life with a view of providing a forum for reflection on the question of governance and the vice that is corruption, as well as its impact on our nation. Before I go much further, I take this opportunity to thank all who have been involved in organizing this august assembly and say thank you very much for bringing us all together to discuss this scourge of corruption. Asante Nisana. This assembly, basically convened under the auspices of the multi-sectoral reform, we've heard from individuals, citizens from all walks of life. We've heard from the clergy, professional groups, public institutions, religious organizations, private companies, government entities, political and business leaders, workers, and a myriad of other actors. People have gathered here for 2 days to conduct a full and frank self-examination of the extent to which each one of us has either helped or hindered the fight against all forms of corruption in Kenya. We have also gathered here to conduct a peer review of the actions of other stakeholders and players in the anti-corruption war, and we are all being held to account for our actions and track record in this most important of national endeavor, the war against corruption and impunity. This conference should not be just another talk shop on corruption where high-sounding promises of action are made, but which never materialize into tangible gains in the fight against graft. Today, I hope that together we shall turn the tide in the war against corruption, creating the platform for victory against the vice that has in many cases impeded our social and economic development as a nation. A vice that, like cancer, has spread throughout the entirety of our national life and permeated every aspect of our way of life, in public bodies, the religious arena, professional bodies, as well as private institutions. Corruption in some way has become an accepted way of life. As individuals and as a collective, we have sacrificed our traditions, customs, and values at the altar of materialism. Rather than shunning those who have made their wealth through illicit means, we celebrate them. Where once heroes were men and women who have sacrificed and contributed to making our society a better place, we now admire those who have manipulated the system to acquire ill-gotten wealth. In Kenya today, corruption has no stigma nor social consequence. Those who have stooped low and looted our nation are nevertheless able to walk down our streets with their heads held high. And this state of affairs is what we must reverse. And I believe there are two ways to go about it. I have been briefed and today had the opportunity to carefully listen, and I think I've heard you. As President and Head of State and Government, following my declaration of corruption as a national security threat, we have continued to sharpen all our arrows to bequeath the next generation a country whose foundation is equity and shared prosperity for all. Today, more stakeholders have joined the fight against the vice that holds us back, and from you, we have also heard new and exciting ideas on how we can enhance our actions against the vice. My government will continue to engage our international partners here present in mutual legal assistance, and in this regard, the coming months, I believe we will see increased repatriation of proceeds of crime held outside the country, as well as extradition of suspects and the receipt of key evidence to support both local and international-based cases. I wish to reassure all Kenyans that no matter which corner of our globe you hide, stolen funds from Kenya, that illicit wealth is no longer beyond the reach of the Kenyan government. With regard to recovery measures for proceeds of corruption within our borders, we have commenced on a number of interventions that have already begun to bear fruit. Step by step, we shall win this war. In recent times, Kenyans have witnessed renewed vigor by both investigators as well as the prosecution in boldly bringing the corrupt to book. For the first time, no person is beyond the reach of the long arm of the law, no matter how powerful or influential they may perceive themselves to be. With the support received from my government to all the institutions in the criminal justice system, it is indeed my firm belief that the high-profile prosecutions that have already been brought before courts are just the opening act of what our valiant and diligent investigators have been painstakingly piecing together. The fight against this monster requires all of us to work together in one common accord, a battalion of 45 million strong that makes us one indivisible nation of one people. Similarly, All arms of government, without any exception, must work together to eliminate this vice. Our investigators and prosecutors have taken to this task of fighting corruption with a renewed zeal. All arms of government must commit themselves today to clean up our corridors and from our corridors the crooked cartels that have for decades abused and denied justice by protecting those guilty of corruption and economic crimes. Our courts must stop the practice of using injunctions against investigation of corrupt activities. Issuing these orders makes it easier for the mandarins of corruption to destroy evidence and intimidate witnesses. Kenyans, I believe, today have spoken on the need to stop this practice. And I therefore call upon the judiciary, and in particular the Judicial Service Commission, to deeply reflect upon and correct areas of weakness that are clearly present in our judicial system. Bwana CJ, if I can just take a little break here. You know, I found it very interesting. I saw you were very angry today. Especially with one group in our society called bloggers. You know, and I remember there was a time, you know, we wanted to pass a law to stop these people from insulting all of us left, right, and center. But then, you know, it was taken to court, and the court decided it was unconstitutional. So just like the rest of us, get used to it, because you'll have to just get used to it, because there's not much else we can do. We just move on. But in all seriousness, as somebody said here, I think Raila mentioned as well, we have to be honest. We have some cases, I will mention just 3, where case upon case, with the issue of Mwea, where President Kibaki, I think way back in 2010, signed a loan with the Japanese government to redevelop Mwea and to increase irrigational capacity for growing rice, to make ourselves self-sufficient in rice. My friend, that issue was in court, I think until late last year, when the Japanese government threatened to withdraw the loan facility, thereby going to affect millions of people. Somebody in Kirinyaga there had decided that's not important. To get it back on track is going to cost the Kenyan taxpayer possibly an additional, I think it was 8 or 9 billion, 7 billion Kenya shillings. Surely the rule of law must mean to protect also the taxpayer from this kind of problem. Surely. I can cite another one. We have cases and programs that we have with the World Bank, road projects, power projects, which have stalled because of injunctions given by courts. Injunctions given by courts. And I keep wondering, these injunctions, a project is in Mombasa, Mombasa one, injunction. Another one is in another part of the country, another one in another part of the country, another one in the other part of the country. But the people who are applying for these injunctions are the same people. So I wonder, who are these? They have learned kila pahali. Surely those are frivolous and denying once again the people of Kenya the ability to be served. So, me, I'm not going to say too much, but I think you have a problem, my friend. And it's a problem that you're going to have to deal with one way or another. Because we have some fellows who they got lost, they disappeared from Kenya. Me, I just heard they resurfaced somewhere in America. They've been in jail for 2 years. They are singing, I hear, like what, huko, telling us all. And yet, here in Kenya, they were walking around free while they were here. They go to court, they are released. They go to court, they are released. they continue with their business. Jameni baba, uko na tabu. Hata mimi nilikuwa na tabu. Na tutasaidiana. Tutasaidiana kuondoa hiyo tabu jameni. Uko na tabu. Yeah. Unajua, let me sidetrack again. When we first started this battle, nikaita mkutano ati wa Kenya tuje pamoja tupambane na ufisadi. Sijui kama wengine mnakumbuka. Alafu watu wakaniingilia, mimi nikasema sasa mimi DPP, ofisi ya DPP ni independent. Ofisi ya DCI hawa pia wako na kazi yao. Koti iko na kazi yake. Sasa mimi mnakumbuka hiyo? Sasa mimi mnataka nifanye nini? Ungesikia mabloggers wakati hiyo bwana CJ vile walinilima. But I had no choice. So I went back to the drawing board. And I believe that we have worked to have a much more strengthened Directorate of Public Prosecution, a much more strengthened Department of Criminal Investigation. So hata wewe kaza kamba ya watu yako na utaona kile itatokea. Yeah. Many instances, identities of commissioners and senior judicial officers and betrayed the people of Kenya are widely known. The Judicial Service Commission and the wider judiciary must now decide whether they shall clean up the house for themselves or whether they're going to have it done for them. That is not to say that we should not have a vibrant and independent judiciary. We must never compromise on the protections under the Bill of Rights, nor erase the gains that have been made securing Kenya and making Kenya a more just society. We can have a judicial system that resonates with the aspirations of all Kenyans, as well as one that secures fundamental rights and due process. We must all ask ourselves, are we with Kenyans in the war against corruption, or are we against them? Let us remind ourselves of the inspiring words of our national anthem, and it says, justice should be our shield and defender, not the shield and defender to protect the unjust. And I add, of the public good, and not a barrier against accountability and the prosecution of high-profile corruption cases. We, in the executive, are deeply aware that we too have many rotten apples in our midst, both at the national and county level. The root of this malady is what I would call a conflict of interest. I believe going forward, parastatal chiefs should not be in a position to use their offices to advance their private businesses. Those in the arena of road traffic regulation, kama tumeambiwa hapa, should not at the same time be players in the industries that they supervise. Kwa hivyo, kama ni polisi, jameni muamue, wewe unataka kuwa mwenye matatu na ni sawa, lakini uniform weka chini. Huwezi kuwa ofisa ambaye anashika gari kwa barabara, alafu wewe pia ndio ofisa ambaye ndio mwenye gari. You cannot police yourself. Kwa hivyo, I think we need to be very clear on that. And in line with the proposals made by this forum, I am today directing the Honorable Attorney General to prepare a bill that will address the question of conflict of interest and the unintended consequences that arose from the Degwa Commission report of 1971, as well as prohibiting any action by any state or public officer that creates a conflict of interest, due loyalties, or an advantage over other persons who do not hold such offices. For example, with due respect to members of parliament, including senators, they should no longer be able to use committee powers to demand information from public offices and then utilize that same information in their own pursuits. State and public officers will have a simple choice: serve in the public arena or go and do private business. Ladies and gentlemen, I am particularly glad that the conversation about corruption in our country is now focused also on the role of religious actors, civil society, businesses, professional groups, and the private sector generally in advancing the fight against this vice. I think this is a conversation that was long overdue. Most corruption scandals unearthed in government have been engineered by business persons and or professionals who connive with willing public officers to defraud the government. It is for this reason that our renewed efforts against corruption have involved investigation and prosecution of these private entities who provide the supply side of corruption. And I call upon the private sector, and in particular our various professional bodies, to support our efforts and take a bolder stand in calling out the corrupt in their midst. The disciplinary arms of professional bodies should more actively investigate and take action against members who are engaged in unethical behavior. We did, for example, as we have now been fighting this issue of money laundering, and we put in a clause that we wanted lawyers who hold clients' accounts to be able to share that information with investigative and financial bodies. And they shut it down in Parliament. So today, under client privilege, people can move money around and not have to declare and just say, client, munaita nini hiyo? Client confidentiality, hiyo. And we have no problem with that where you're doing legitimate business. But if a matter is under investigation, surely, if a man or a woman for that matter is being investigated for a particular case, why should you deny the investigative arms the ability to be able to see who the beneficial owner is? I today call again on the lawyers' body and also on Parliament, do the right thing. Let us bring that law back. Let us reintroduce that. Let us reintroduce it for those areas where we know that lawyers are being used to hide illicit funds. Tafadhalini, if you are genuine and if you're serious about what we are talking about here today. And I also urge our religious leaders and institutions and private corporate institutions to also tackle corruption more aggressively. The days of sitting on the fence or not taking a stand must come to an end. Our religious leaders must lead their flock in creating social jails for those who have built their fortunes on looted monies. Our private companies must make the decision that profits are not superior to public interest. The general public has also an important role to play in highlighting instances of corruption in both the public and private sector. Kenya has a vibrant social media landscape. I urge Kenyans to use the tools of social media to identify, stigmatize, and report all instances of corruption that come to their knowledge. Mwache matusi, lakini fanyeni hii. Matusi haisaidii. Au ni namna gani CJ? Ni kweli. Lakini kama uko na kitu ya kweli sema. Lakini kuna haja ya kusema kwa njia ya matusi. Au ni namna gani wenzangu? Kunaye anataka kutusiwa na watoto wanasoma hii, nani anasoma na mtu anatumia lugha ambayo hata huelewi. Anyway, ni sawa sawa tu. Mungu yuko. And also equally, Bwana Kiboro, you took all of us on, and I take your challenge, at least when it comes to the executive. But I also believe you should also challenge yourselves. You should also challenge yourselves as the fourth estate. Not just say you are challenging the rest of us, challenge yourselves. And I believe, just like I am telling the CJ, kuna mambo huko, hata nyinyi mutapata, kuna mambo huko. Na ni kweli. Kila mtu ajue, kila mtu asafishe nyumba yake. Kila mtu asafishe nyumba yake. Namna hiyo. In the war against corruption, each and every one of us must decide if they will be a soldier for good or in evil. Generations that are coming up and those that are yet to be born. Corruption is the destroyer of dreams, and our nation cannot achieve her destiny as long as we remain shackled by corruption practices and their negative effects. To do this, we must present our children with a picture of the possible, profiling the positive, championing the honest, and celebrating the humble. In this spirit, I acknowledge all those public officers who perform their duties with commitment, passion, and dedication, and who abhor fraud and corruption in the true spirit of public service. You unfortunately suffer the reputational hazard of a few less illustrious colleagues who sometimes give the public service a bad name. I want today to take this opportunity to acknowledge citizens of virtue, citizens such as the Kenya Ladies Golf Association, Ghana team, who were sponsored by the Ministry of Sports, Arts and Culture with Kenya shillings 2.5 million to participate in an event in Ghana, and when they came back, returned a check of Kenya shillings 500,000 as monies that they had not spent. I hail police officers like Police Constable Joshua Ombati, who pursued, intercepted, and arrested 2 robbery suspects and declared the recovery of Kenya shillings 400,000. I also wish to recognize citizens like Daniel Mwaura, a matatu tout on the Gashie city center route, who, as described in social media, did something remarkable and unimaginable in this economy by returning a customer's lost wallet with Kenya shillings 30,000 still intact. We have so many million honest, hardworking, and virtuous people in our society, and we must hold them up as the role models to be emulated by our youth. We should celebrate these everyday heroes as they counterpoint to the narrative that wealth is the ultimate reason for being alive. Indeed, as head of state and government, I will continue to play my role in the fight against corruption, and we will wage this war with all the tools available to us by law, and we will not compromise or relent. The interventions proposed here today will be incorporated in the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, and with your support and the support of millions of Kenyans who yearn for a corruption-free society, this war will be won. A child who has just joined grade 1 this year should not join up a primary in a society where corruption is as pervasive as it is today. I wish to take this opportunity to conclude now by calling on all Kenyans to join together in this sacred duty of making Kenya corruption-free. One of the issues that was raised here today, and I will ask the Minister of Education to engage with the Transport Ministry and the stakeholders in the ministry, is this issue, and I think that's a good idea, to introduce this issue of training. TVETs, you're here, yeah? I see no reason. We are building TVETs across the country. Introduce a course where these young people can be trained and given proper driving skills. Yeah, work with these people of matatus and others and lorries and buses. Msaidie hawa watu, wajifunze vizuri. I think that's good. Sindio? Sawa Kevit? Hiyo mambo ya NYS, mutapanga na huyu mama, sijui kama atakubali, lakini hiyo ni yenu. Yeah. Kwa hayo machache na mengi nasema Mungu awabariki, Mungu ailinde Kenya. Asanteni sana kwa kila mmoja wenu kwa kuja kuwa pamoja nasi siku hizi mbili. Asanteni sana. Sorry, nikimalizia. Hapa pia tuko na regional commissioners wetu kutoka kila region ya nchi yetu ya Kenya, na wamekuwa hapa na wamesikia yale yote ambayo mmekuwa mkisema. Tulikuwa pamoja na hawa juzi Mombasa, na nikawaambia ya kwamba katika region zao, katika county zao, wawe maofisa in the front line ya kutenda yale ambayo tunafanya na tunasema hapa. Kwa hivyo wale ambao wanafikiria wamepotelea sijui Eldoret, Kisumu, Nyeri, Murang'a, Kiambu, Mombasa, mjue hata huko gari itafika. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We will now have the national anthem. Asanteni sana, thank you very much, Your Excellency. A big round of applause for the commitments needed. Tukushukuru sana.
Bishop, thank you.
Tukushukuru sana Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya na wale wengine wote ambao wameongea kwa kutuahidi, na tunasema ni asante. There's one last thing we want to do, and Your Excellency, please feel free to step down. But ukifika pale chini, tutarudi kule sababu kuna wimbo ambao tunataka uimbe. Na kuimba na kuchapa dance. So I want to ask Mwalimu wa Songa, wakati ambapo mtukufu rais anapofika pale chini, mnajua wimbo huo na sisi wote tunaujua, wimbo unaosema tushangilie Kenya kwa sababu tungetaka kushangilia vile ambavyo tumeahidi leo. So anzeni sababu